Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honored guest. As our friend Jay indicated, yes, I've been in the World Championships for 3 times now, and this will make my 3rd time going to the World Championships. Now, what I'm going to do is a 3-part series of how to win the World Championships. But you don't necessarily have to want to win the World Championships. The skills and the information I'm giving you would be useful in a PTA meeting as much as it would for the World Championship. But with all the information that I've been given, I feel to give back what I have been so freely given. I can't keep it unless I give it away, is how it works for me. So tonight we're working on props, and a lot of people come up to me and say, well, how do I work with visual aids? And I tell my students, you have a visual aid that should be as natural to you as an extension of your hand. If you're a guitarist, come on up here and share your guitar. If you're a flautist, come on up and show your flouting. Your flouting. I saw one woman, she's a tennis instructor, and she's from Iran. And she came in wearing this huge burqa. And the fellows from Iran were all nodding, oh, there's, Armine wearing her burqa. Well, she unzipped her burqa and stepped out in a fantastic tennis outfit of green and white silk with a skirt up to here and these long, magnificent legs. She pulls out of the burqa her tennis racket and begins walking on the ball with the tennis racket, and she uses the ball and the tennis racket so beautifully to emphasize her points. But what I have seen over and over again, particularly for the world champions of public speaking, is the chair. Jim Key, world champion of public speaking, had 2 chairs side by side on the world champion stage. The world champion stage is 40 feet long. That's a little longer than your average boat. Okay, so he starts by sitting down, which is a very unusual posture to begin with, and he pretends he's in a movie theater with his son. And the movie is Field of Dreams. And there comes a point in that movie where it gets very maudlin and very mushy, and he's trying to avoid his son's eyes and begins to, go like over here, and the son leans over and says, "Daddy, are you crying again?" And he begins to have this conversation with his son in the chair next to him as though he were in a movie theater. And this was one of the ways he used the chair effectively. And he ended his speech by standing on both seats and begins to oraculate this way into a room of 5,000 people. The World Championships of Public Speaking include an audience of 5,000 people with 18-foot screens going down the length of the room. There's 8 on one side and 8 on another, so that the audience way back there, if they can't see you on the front stage, by God, they will see you on one of these television screens that runs the length of the room. And this is how he won his speech. That was one world champion of public speaking. Then there was Randy Harvey. Randy Harvey came to visit us in the year 2005. Randy Harvey is a very imposing man, about 6'3", 250 pounds, big guy. And his speech was called Fat Dad. And it was a story of his relationship with his father called Fat Dad. And Fat Dad is the name that is given to the patriarch of his family. And he begins to describe his relationship with his dad in a series of vignettes. And the first is of him as a little boy, and the dogs have been let out, and his way of escaping the dogs is to run and jump up on top of his dad's hood of his dad's car. And with the jumping up on top of the dad's car, he begins to scuff this beautiful car, and all the hound dogs after him begin scraping the scraping the car apart. And he goes, "Dad, Fat Dad!" And Fat Dad comes, and he jumps into the arms of his father, who catches him and says, "Son, we can always get ourselves another car. And the dogs, well, they've all been put away. But there's only one of you. You're irreplaceable." And that was the first story. And then he goes into the rest of the speech, goes on, and then he's driving a car, and he uses the chair as a car. And he's singing, "Cecilia, you're breaking my heart. You're shaking my confidence daily." And as he's singing this song, in comes a blue bottle fly, horsefly. hits him in the back of the mouth. He tries to blow it out through his nose. And while he's having this interaction with the blue-nosed fly, he winds up crashing into the neighbor's fountain. And on the fountain is a little image of Mary Poppins, which he said flew into the air faster than you could say a spoonful of sugar. And then his father comes along and saves him, and here's another interaction with the father. And then he talks about how his mother used to sit on the couch, and how his dad used to come up from behind and give his mom a kiss on the cheek. And then he goes on to describe how his mother died, and how when her sun set, her morning star rose. And that was how he described his relationship with Fat Dad. And he ends by saying that his father had died the year before the World Championship of Public Speaking, and how he inherited the name Fat Dad, and how much that meant to him to be Fat Dad. Those are a couple of World Champion speeches. The third speech I would give from the World Championships is another man who began to talk to his father, and he built in this relationship with his dad. He built in this relationship with his dad. He has this conversation with his dad. And then the dad dies. He dies, and he lays the chair down. And he comes. And just as the father is dying, he puts his hand on his father's foot, and he says his goodbye to his father with just this chair and touching the leg of the chair as though it were his father's foot. I have seen these and more of what one can do with a chair. I thought, well, what can I do with a chair? So what I did, I tried all kinds of ways of using the chair. But what I did is I sat down in it. And when I sat in it, I realized all the empty chairs I have left in my life. All the times I haven't been present. All the times I thought I was there, but I really wasn't. All the times that I would leave my chair empty, hoping someone else would take my place, hoping someone else would do the work when I didn't want to do it. And as those memories came up, I was able to develop the speech called The Empty Chair. And that empty chair speech took me to the World Championships of Public Speaking in the year 2005. So you just never know, fellow Toastmasters, where a chair or a tennis racket or a guitar could take you, whether it's just to a PTA meeting or the World Championships of Public Speaking.